Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 15th of August, 2023. Coming up in this Tuesday's rant of the Krusty Connect podcast, media shared headlines and the outrage and backlash, more fire updates, and green schemes. That's right, more government BS when it comes to green technology that's going to save the world at our expense. Slap and tickle for your pickle and your wallet. All that and more coming at the podcast. Please stick around. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. I like to swear and I smoke cigarettes and do funny things with my faces. All that and more coming up. Please stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Krusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues, and life. Here's Krusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 223, Krusty Canuck podcast, the Tuesday rant. Yes, I'm your host, Krusty Canuck, and welcome on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Pardon me, the cameras here had some issues there earlier, but it's just looking in places where it shouldn't be. Anyway, I'm your host, Krusty Canuck, and I hope everyone's doing well. Had a great weekend and all that good stuff. I was pretty busy. I did some yard work, like I mentioned on my Saturday episode. However, it's not done yet, but it's getting there slowly but surely. Had a doctor's appointment today. Went and talked to my psychologist. And we had a lovely discussion about a lot of things in regards to politics, the way the world's going, other issues, what have you. But just keep focusing on making these episodes for you and trying to get the word out to the best of my ability. I like to say thank you once again. I had a couple emails after my last episode. Not too much for dialogue, but I had thumbs up. So thank you very much for the thumbs up. You guys are awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've actually had a couple of scammers try to come aboard me, try to promote my podcast in a positive light. They're saying, oh, we can get you these views and get you all these likes and everything. And when I actually set up a business appointment to have with these individuals, I got nothing but excuses twice. So to my fellow podcasters and creators out there, be very, very weary of these fly-by-nighters who say they're going to help you, okay? Because they use a lot of bots, they use a lot of misinformation, and I mean that generally, not the political sense of it all, but I mean that generally, where they are going to tell you something for $25 or $30 or $40 or $50, whatever their package may be, okay, and they're not going to help you. Excuse me. They're either going to promote nowhere but India or Bangladesh, and they're either going to promote with bots or a handful of people that might want to watch your program for the better part of 10, 15 seconds, and then that's it. And then a month down the road, you'll find that those subscribers you have are gone. So be wary of all these sales pitches there too. I made that mistake about a year ago. I bought a program from the fine people at a certain site, which are legit. I'm not going to mention it because I don't have authorization to promote their product. However, I bought a program for about $26 and it didn't fall through. It was a joke. It was a scam. So I basically wrote a lovely email expressing to this individual that her program was not what she said it was, and she didn't do the job that she said she was going to do. So needless to say, I got scammed, $26. Oh, well. But that's life. You learn your lesson, right? So to all my other creators out there, if you come across an email or someone's going to say they're going to promote this and promote that for you, get them to show you their stats and legitimacy and ask around before you purchase anything, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that being said, back to the meat and potatoes of this show, of this Tuesday rant. That's right. Media shared headlines, fire updates, and green schemes. That's right. More BS coming from our leaders and the media as we see it today. So, shared media headlines. Now, I'm well aware that every national paper, every national news outlet will share a story going here, going there, blah, 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 blah. I get it. I've seen it from the first Gulf War. I've seen it through politics in the 90s and the early 2000s to the second Gulf War to our time in Afghanistan. So, yeah, headlines after headlines after headlines. But what gets me is that they all say the same thing. And I'll give you an example here too from my Twitter feed. Okay. I just find it really, really coincidental how this really, really works. And some of the outrage that some people have said in towards backing it up. Now, I'm all for freedom of speech and expression. Of course, I would not be the person I am today if we didn't have that. But needless to say, when you actually look at the schematic here, okay, now look at those 4 headlines. Okay, you see those 4 headlines from CTV News. Okay, I'll just make this bigger for you if I can. There you go. Okay, so from CTV News and the Toronto Star, City TV, and CBC. Okay, now every one of these media outlets have received government money one way or the other. Okay. CTV News says Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. CBC News, Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. And the same thing for the Toronto Star and the same thing for City News. Now, City News is owned by CTV, which is owned by Bell. Okay, CBC is owned by the Canadian taxpayer. Toronto Star, I forget what conglomerate they are with, but needless to say, they are not a friend to liberty and freedom. Okay, so when you look at these headlines, 4 major outlets in this country, all vying for, they wanted to have a good go. They all petitioned the government, they all asked the government basically to sit there and say, hey, let's stop big tech from making money off of us. Okay, now I mentioned this before, and to my fine friends at Northern Perspective, I actually watched their live stream there, and it was pretty good. I didn't get too much in. I was doing some other work. But Fox, one of the presenters on that program, used the analogy of, let's say you write a book or a magazine, you hand it out to your friends and family via the mail service. Okay. It'd be like you being expected to be paid by the mail service when you hand out your product. That's the best analogy I can think of when it comes to how the government wants to censor big tech. And that's what it is. Now, big tech is just as guilty for censoring, especially during the jibby jab days and the pandam days. Okay. They're guilty of doing that too. But all they are doing is providing a stepping stone for these big media companies. Okay. That's all they're doing. It's like, well, here's a way we can push this out for you. Okay. But like I mentioned in one of my other episodes, is that the media companies should have done this about 20 years ago when everyone was going digital, when everyone was going this to have a pay service or that service. And there's tons of independent media in this country that does that. Western Standard, True North, Rebel Media, okay, National Telegraph, just to name a few, Druthers. You want their subscription, you want their service, you got to pay for it. It's that simple. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And just because you don't get the free news, that doesn't mean you can't get it. You can always watch the boob tube and try to get your information there too. But the way they worded everything, regardless of how the wire services work or regardless of what this reporter says or that reporter says, when I look at something like that article, I don't see anything but laziness. Why can't one writer or one journalist from each one of those conglomerates go out and write their own? Now, as for Mr. Poilievre touting far-right conspiracies and all this shit, no, it's not really conspiracies. He's speaking out against some of the BS that's been presented to us today in regards to what we see and what we do online. Now, as much as I disagree with Mr. Poilievre when it comes to economics and when it comes to what he did not do during said convoy and what he did not do when it comes to speaking out against people that are locked up in this country and people that are constantly going under trial over mischief, he does make a valid point when it comes to freedom of expression. I'm all for every writer, every journalist out there to express themselves freely. You got to do it honestly, though. I hate saying but because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but you still got to do it honestly. And what I just presented to you, my wonderful audience, was it really honest? Right? 4 big major news outlets in this country, all saying the same thing. No government influence at all whatsoever.
Stay updated and follow Krusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at krustycanuck.ca.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, the Tuesday Rant, episode 223 of the Krusty Canuck podcast. That's right. I'm your host, Krusty Canuck. Topics, media shared headlines, fire updates, and green schemes. More political BS in the name of saving the environment and taking more money from us. That's right. I'm your host, Krusty, and welcome back. If you like this program, you like what I do, please share and subscribe all over your social media platforms and help a guy like me out. Try to get his messages out too. So you, the wonderful audiences out there who think for yourselves and stand on your own 2 feet and use your thumbs and walk and chew gum at the same time, can formulate your own opinion, as we should, ladies and gentlemen. So carrying on with more fire updates. Now, I read something today. I didn't find the article that appealing. Needless to say, though, I didn't put it on here. There was just something was telling me not to put it on here. But what I read was a simple fact. There's been a few people in Hawaii that are victims of the fires. And just after they fled, not even a day after they fled, and they found some kind of haven, some safety haven, they were called by developers and real estate agents in regards to them selling their property. Now, I don't know about you. Maybe I'm new to this game, but I don't recall the people in Nova Scotia who lost their homes and lost a lot of their conveniences during the hurricane last year being called by developers or real estate agents to sell their property after that devastating hurricane. Nor have I been hearing about real estate or developers inquiring about people who have lost their homes to the recent floods or the fires here in Alberta and BC and in the Northwest Territories that have just ignited, ironically. So that puts things in perspective, ladies and gentlemen, that maybe these fires were intentionally set to thwart something, to coerce or convince people to do something they really don't want to do. And once again, my heart goes out to those individuals in Hawaii. And especially, I think the death toll has come up to about 100, 105. So my deepest sympathies, ladies and gentlemen, to my friends in Hawaii. I hope nothing but the best. And if I could donate some money to your cause, I would. But needless to say, my condolences nonetheless to your loss. And we hope for the best for you all out there to get through this and to persevere and shine once again without all the conspiracy tampering, without all people getting their noses into your affairs. So anyway, we'll carry on. It's just devastating when I saw that. It was actually a TikTok video too. I'm not always one to promote TikTok videos. I don't really think TikTok is a very, very good platform for us Canucks, probably because a lot of it has to do with Red China. And I'm not a fan. I love the Chinese people, but I'm not a fan of Red China. Anyway, I just find it odd. When I saw those videos and I read that article, I was just, really? Wow. I guess the vultures are in full swing then too. But what gets me the most is that these people just lost their homes. They lost their livelihoods, and some of them might have lost loved ones. And here come a bunch of vultures looking to make a fast buck or to make somebody else a fast buck. You know, pretty tasteless and pretty shitty and pretty fucking rude on their part. Well, but let's just hope things get better, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay updated and follow Krusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at krustycanuck.ca.
Once again, you're back at the Krusty Canuck podcast. That's right. Episode 223. The Tuesday Rant, Krusty Canuck podcast. Media shared headlines, fire updates, and green schemes. So we're carrying on with more of the fire stuff too. Daniel Smith recently said in a CPAC interview, out of the 650 fires that were set apparently this summer, 500 were caused by human error. Now that's also factoring in ignorance, complacency, and the big A word. It rhymes with arse. We'll just call them arsonists. I don't care what the censors say. I'm getting tired of the censorship crap. But there have been people out there that have been caught, as far as I know. Whatever their idea is or whatever is on their minds, You're not going to change the world by setting things ablaze and trying to scare people into submission. Because when you start trying to scare people, you're going to get people that are rising up. And the convoy proved that, ladies and gentlemen. So food for thought there when it comes to the whole pushing the agenda, which brings me to this green schemes. There's an article here from Spencer Fernando I'm going to read in regards to Mr. Stephen Guilbeault, our minister, and Mr. Wilkinson, Mr. Guilbeault talking about the whole green thing and all this stuff too, as well as Mr. Guilbeault, who wants to make everything hunky-dory, right? The divisive agenda in regards to our green policy, and this came from the 11th of August, so it's 4 days old. But I will just read along, ladies and gentlemen, what Mr. Spencer Fernando, and he's quite intelligent. I'll leave links to his work there, free as all, but I'll read this article to you, and you decide, as always. You decide what is the right thing to do. And as much as I love clean water and good campgrounds and mountains and trees and everything too, I don't find that the ministry in this country is going to be a force for good when it comes to saving our lives. They can't keep their hands out of our bank accounts, let alone our lives. So, but as the article says, Canada's national unity and the finances of Canadians are being severely strained by Justin Trudeau's ongoing empowerment of a radical environment minister. And we can say the environmental agenda too. So I'll just read along here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there's Mr. Guilbeault. He climbed a CN tower there back in 1999 in the name of the environment. So he broke the law. Okay. Nothing wrong with standing up for what you believe in, but it's amazing how he makes all this money as an minister. The Liberal government wants you to believe they are addressing the cost of living. The facts say otherwise. A key component of the cost of living is, of course, the cost of energy. Any prosperous civilization must be built upon a foundation of affordable energy. If fusion power becomes widely available one day, our potential standard of living will be nearly utopian, of course. But we aren't there yet. In a world where, as exists today, oil and gas continue to play a key role in providing affordable energy, and that role will continue for a long time. Pragmatic, common sense leaders recognize this. Ideological extreme leaders do not, and Stephen Guilbeault is certainly in the latter category. Too ideological for a regionally diverse country. If Stephen Guilbeault was a provincial minister or politician in a geographically small and dense country, his extreme ideological leanings would be a big problem. Unfortunately, Canada is a country of immense regional diversity. Things are very different in Alberta than in Quebec. The distance from BC to Newfoundland and Labrador is roughly, or correction, it is 4,441 kilometers. The needs of key industries in various regions are dramatically different. Economic integration is often more powerful north-south between Canadian provinces and American states than east-west between Canadian provinces themselves. All this to say that one-size-fits-all ideological approach cannot work in Canada. Stephen Guilbeault's perspective may be popular in his downtown Montreal riding, and the voters there certainly have the right to see their viewpoints represented in Parliament, but to impose that view across the nation is a serious error. Remember, Canada was more unified and more economically successful under the Harper government because Conservatives respected regional diversity, and the Conservatives supported oil and gas sector in Alberta, but also supported the forestry sector in BC, auto sector in Ontario, and the aerospace sector in Quebec. Thus, no region felt explicitly left out, and no region of the country felt the federal government was being unfairly weaponized against them. As a result, even when Harper was personally unpopular in regions like Quebec, support for Quebec separatism dropped, and the separatists began to collapse. But it's a dangerous division. Unfortunately, Stephen Guilbeault lacks the willingness or ability to be pragmatic. By extension, Justin Trudeau also knows himself to be devoid of pragmatism, since he's one who has empowered Guilbeault and continues to keep Guilbeault in the environment minister role. Surprisingly, Trudeau and Guilbeault's net zero plan is already being denounced for both unrealistic and for imposing increased costs on already strained Canadian households. While the government has been trying to spin their efforts as cost saving, internally they are aware that it's just opposite. Right? Now, from Blacklock's report or documents at Stephen Guilbeault memo warns ratepayers will see steeper hydro bills under a green program. Expansion of clean electric supply in 2050 will increase costs. Blacklock's, check them out too. I'll leave a link to their work. By pushing Canadians to use less reliable energy, Guilbeault and Trudeau will raise costs rather than lower them. Heather Exner-Pirot, Director of Energy, Natural Resources and Environment at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and Special Advisor to the Business Council of Canada, said the federal Liberals are choosing to go much faster and further than what anyone else thinks is logistically or economically possible. They are arguing that switching to clean electricity will save Canadians money. That's not being realistic, she argued. Natural gas in Canada is cheap and reliable. Heat pumps and EVs do not work well in large parts of the country in winter, and that's a fact. And I agree with that because heat pumps works on the same principle as an AC, okay? Last summer, they encouraged us, don't be running your AC all the time because your power bill is going to go up. An AC sucks a lot of juice like a microwave or a big-ass oven or your dryer, all right? And yet, Seamus O'Regan was one of the clowns that said, heat pumps will work great for the people of Newfoundland. I've spent some time in the winter in Newfoundland. No, they won't. Both Alberta and Saskatchewan, provinces unfairly targeted by the Liberal government, are making it clear they will push back. And good for Miss Danielle Smith in regards to that, too. She says in a tweet, the federal government's new regulations on electricity will increase your utility bills and basically every other good and service. The proposed mandate is unconstitutional. We will not let Albertans suffer by implementing this policy. And rightfully so, okay? Rightfully so. So it's just, we got to petition these clowns, okay? And Premier Scott Moe responded to Premier Saskatchewan. Oh, if I just can't get this page here straight here. Trudeau's net zero electricity regulations are unaffordable, unrealistic, and unconstitutional. They will drive electricity rates to the roof and leave Saskatchewan with an unreliable power supply. Our government will not let the federal government do that to Saskatchewan. And really, it shouldn't be doing it to anybody, too, because Ontario had the same problem under Wynne and her green ideas. All this money to help out the environment when it ended up screwing working class people. That's how taxes work. When they implement these taxes, they fail to realize that the abundance of taxpayers get it up the chuff, which is, you and me. The fact that Alberta and Saskatchewan are being put in this position itself is an indictment of Trudeau's Guilbeault's leadership. Rather than seek to unite Canadians, Guilbeault and Trudeau are using every opportunity to impose their ideology, no matter how much damage it does to the fabric of the nation. All the while, Canadians are falling behind economically, and there's almost no change in Canada's already minuscule contribution of global emissions. Canada only contributes maybe 1.5 or 1.6%, apparently, which is a pimple on the elephant's ass of the globe, which is nothing. It's nothing, right? Rather than seek to unite Canadians, Guilbeault and Trudeau are using every opportunity to impose their ideology, no matter how much damage it does to the fabric of the nation. And all the while, Canadians are falling behind economically, and there is almost no change in Canada's already minuscule contribution. For the good of the country, Canadians must reject the extreme ideological approach to Stephen Guilbeault. Someone as divisive and zealous as Guilbeault simply shouldn't be put in such a position of power over our country. And he's right. He is absolutely right. There should not be any partisanship or nonpartisanship or any kind of bias towards how you feel about the environment. Are things filthy? Are things getting dirty? Are we having a really rough go? Well, not really, but this is all being projected and forced down our throats. All in the name of saving the globe, because little girl with pigtails there in Europe saying, how dare you? I should be in school. You take away my dreams. And yet I travel the globe at someone else's expense, being a professional victim. That's what it is. Okay. Now, if this planet is going to cease to exist, push up the daisies per se. Right? It's going to happen because someone's going to press a little red button. It's not going to be because the polar ice caps are going to melt. Ha! No, they're not. People still go to Newfoundland every summer to watch the icebergs come across. It's a tourist thing. So it actually makes Newfoundland some money, right? But the idea of heat pumps and all these wonderful things to stop people from using fossil fuel isn't going to help. Okay. And I've debated with a few ass clowns on Twitter about this. I would like you to show me a town of, let's say, 2,500 people. Okay. 2,500 people that rely on nothing but wind and solar to power their facilities. That's everything. That's from their plumbing. That's from their electrical grid. That's from everything they have. When they go grocery shopping, what powers the stores, what powers the street lights, what powers whatever transportation, if they do have it in their town. okay, minus the fossil fuels they use in their cars. I would like to see a town. I dare anybody out there to present me the model of a real town that suffices just fine on wind and solar. Now, I'm not talking someplace near the equator. Show me a town in the Northern Hemisphere that experiences winter as much as Canada does. Okay? And tell me how that works. No, really, tell me how that works. I don't think you'd be finding any town like that just yet until we understand how we can harness wind and charge your own personal batteries to run your house without any kind of issue and without government oversight sticking their hand in the pool to take some of their monopoly because taxes make the world go round, right? No. So I'm positive you'd be hard pressed to find any kind of town or any kind of city or any kind of urban area that can suffice properly during winter, summer, spring, and autumn months with just wind and solar. But these people keep pushing it, right? And they'll set fires to places to prove it, right? Was that a conspiracy? I wonder, are they really, really up to something? Makes you think, right? Anyway, enough of that sheen stuff, because that's what it is. These carbon taxes are ×2 in Canada. To my American friends and to my other listeners out there, we are charged a carbon tax every time we fill up our trucks or cars. We are charged a carbon tax when we get our utilities bill. We are charged a carbon tax every time we turn on the lights or we use our computers, okay? We are also given an additional tax on top of that, too, called the GST. A goods and services tax, which was introduced back in 1990 by the conservative government under Brian Mulroney to clean up the mess that they left in the 1980s. Okay. And it was Stephen Harper who brought it down to 5% now, too. But there's still more taxes out there. Now, regardless if you liked Harper or not, I didn't mind the guy because he helped the troops out quite a bit. But then towards the last year, he started cutting again. To make a long story short, not every prime minister was really cool with our military, but Harper came close to getting something done. But that's just me, though, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably because of Harper and Trudeau where I've became more of a libertarian, if anything. Live and let live, do your thing. I don't care. You do you, I do me. Just don't hit people and take their stuff. That includes their money, and that includes their fucking jobs, too. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway, I have been Krusty Canuck on this beautiful 15th of August. 2023. This has been another episode of the Tuesday Rant. I hope nothing but good things for you all out there. Like I said, it's getting a little warmer out here too. So to my fans and listeners alike who watch me from Alberta and BC, make sure you hydrate and question the status quo. Okay. I encourage all of you when you get online and you're part of the Twitter universe or the Facebook universe or any other social feed you're on, engage with the questions, engage the dialogue, right? And I highly encourage too that all my listeners, I don't care what MP represents you. I don't care if it's NDP, Liberal, Conservative. My American listeners, the same. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican or Independent or Libertarian. Get an email at them. Email, phone. Get out there. If you live close to their constituent's office, make an appointment, talk with them. Get them on their fucking toes and get them to do their goddamn jobs to smarten up. Okay? Get on them. Here in Canada, get on the Liberals and the NDPers. Okay? Because the NDPers are just hanging on to save their jobs because of Yagmeet Singh. And the Liberals, there's nothing liberal about them. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? There's nothing liberal about Canada's Liberal Party. Well, there's nothing liberal about them. They're two buddies with WEF. You've all heard Klaus Schwab saying, we penetrated the cabinet, jawohl. We've got the young members like Trudeau to do all these things for us, jawohl. Right? It's out there. The footage is out there of Klaus Schwab bragging about how they've penetrated so many cabinets. Not the kind of word I'd like to say when you're trying to make up a partnership. Oh, I've penetrated your business. I penetrated her last night. Oh my goodness. Some of that stuff will make you go to jail, but you get my point, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, we can do better. Why? Because we need more common sense in politics, more common sense in our daily lives, and we really just got to start leaving people alone, let them do their thing. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I've been Krusty Canuck on this beautiful August 15th, 2023. I wish nothing but good things for you all out there. And do what you can. Look after each other in these trying times, and just try to be good and stand firm and stand high and stand proud. There's still a lot this country can do, and there's a lot of wonderful things that lie ahead for us in the future. And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Krusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Krusty Canuck podcast.
Until we meet again. Remember, it's technically oral if the person giving you a handy is deaf. Until we meet again. Remember, it's technically oral if the person giving you a